What's up, everyone? This is your boy Julian with Clout Finder, and I'm here with the amazingly talented AllyIllustrated. How are you doing today, Ally?
I'm doing well. I still don't know how to accept such a compliment of like the amazing Ellie. It's like sounds like a magician, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, people think I'm amazing, so I appreciate that. Thank you for my flowers. Happy
No,
Wednesday.
happy Wednesday, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because we've been going back and forth for some time now, and we finally been able to get on here. I remember in see back when it was CNFT Con, the original one. You were like the one person I wanted to meet from like spaces online that I didn't have the chance to. So excited to put a face to the voice. Thank you for being on, and let's get started. So, Allie, a big focus of what we do is all about creativity. And, you're a creative, you're an art director, you're a muse, you're the founder of Cardano Women. And I think you're also a veteran as well. But I before I kind of just like go for, I wanted to give you the space to kind of just describe your background, what people should know about you and things of that nature.
Yeah. I think best way to describe it is every individual is multifaceted in their own right. They come from a variety of backgrounds. I wear many hats. I've worn many hats, and I still do. Um, so, like in the best summary, I guess I'm terrible at bios. I guess like most people just don't, they like squirm and feel uncomfortable talking about themselves. However, we sit in Twitter spaces talking about ourselves all the time.
All the time.
So, yeah, no, I'm a veteran. I've been out for now 7 years, and actually, correction, 8 years. 8 years. It's like a whole nother life. And yeah, art director, model, muse. That's been like, that was more or less like a hobby, that side hustle. Um, that also became more of a thing with Web3. And yeah, just innately a creative human being. So any way that I can express myself, then that's how I do it. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, no problem, no problem. And I want to kind of dive into the world of art and how it coincides with business. Can you kind of like dive into what you do as an art director? I know it's like I think blockchain based a little bit right now, but just kind of step into that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So art directing was not something that, I'm classically trained in from Web 2 to Web 3. It was one of those
Mhm.
things that when you come into Web 3, it's like coming to a new America. Basically, you
Facts.
opportunity land. You get to create who you want to be, how you want to be, um, and when, really. So when I first joined the space, again, CNFTs are still CNFTs. They're not much different. I think that trend's coming back. But basically, NFTs on Cardano. I started off actually on Ethereum, and it was expensive. I couldn't really afford Ethereum during the bull market. So then a week later, when I found Cardano, I felt like I found my happy place, a place where I wanted to be, because it was a smaller community. It was something that I could juggle better, I guess, but also saw it as it was still very fresh and new. NFTs were still very new, and one artists were few and far in between at the time. So my partner and I, we we didn't trailblaze at all the one artist scene, but we did, and we still do our best to try to advocate for that sector of individuals in the ecosystem. So, as a one artist myself, um, I somehow got lucky and picked up by JPEG Store a while back, and they asked, you know, a really funny question. It was like, "We know all about you. We know that we really want you on our team. However, we don't know how, because you're not a developer, you're not a marketing person. Like, I didn't have any of those qualifications at all. And they were still willing to wanting to hire me. So I was just like sitting there for a few days, just I would think in the shower, I'd think in my car, I would think everywhere. And I was like, I want to help onboard people. That's really all I want to do, about educating and giving them an opportunity. And so I was like, JPEG Store has this perception as being primarily a project store, but I also am very well aware that you can mint uh, on the platform like easily. It was really nice and not really advertised. So then I offered to be a creative director, basically one artist discovery kind of person, where I would use my network between the artists that I knew, between Ethereum, any blockchain, and then of course I love Instagram, so tons of artists there. I mean, that's kind of like our breeding ground is those platforms. So that was really exciting.
Okay, awesome. And I didn't know you were doing that work with JPEG Store. First off, shout out to JPEG Store, a huge player in Cardano NFT development. I don't really think we would be where we are without them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you started, you went and touched on how your journey first started in
Mhm.
crypto. What brought you into crypto originally? Like, what caught your attention to like the wave?
Anger, frustration, not understanding anything. So I was working retail, 9 to 5 kind of job. Um, Again, a manager, and everything. And so my job was to basically like go into work during COVID times, anytime, every time. And my partner would be at home, and he would be on what was that platform called? Clubhouse. Sorry, he's rooting me out on the background, but yeah, he was on Clubhouse. When I would go to work, he'd be on Clubhouse. I come home, he would be on Clubhouse, kind of thing, and it made me frustrated because I was just like, I just got yelled at by customers all day because I had to wear a mask. I didn't have the product that they wanted. Like, it was a crazy time. So then I guess kind of like a nagging significant other. I was just like, it's just a trend. Just put it away. We're going to eat dinner. We're going to just like focus on other things. And then when I would go to work on my lunch break, gotta love Siri, I was just scrolling through Facebook and I kept seeing articles about NFTs. One that stuck out to me the most was Emily Ratajkowski, why she was joining this space. And I was like, okay, I can kind of relate with her. I'm a freelance model. I want to empower myself with my image. And why she was joining the space was basically to buy back her rights and things like that, which I thought was really empowering. And also enlightening to see that it was a woman, not all of your crypto bros and everything. So I was like, okay, fine. I come home that day and I tell my partner, teach me this stuff. Like, what is it? Like, I'm now bowing to you. You can tell me everything. And that's kind of how it like rolled out. I think we went to like California. We went to a few parties. We went to a few events that were primarily like Ethereum based.
Okay.
And I just wasn't feeling it. And literally, we were on our anniversary in Denver, and Jason had mentioned, my partner, his name is Jason, that there was yeah, there was a event in Wyoming that we could go drive to, and that was the Cardano Summit. So we went there, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the small crowd. I fell in love with the small group that we met was Cinnabon,
Okay.
Skulls, um, Rokindo, and quite a few other people. It was like really, really small group, but it was really powerful, and I really loved it. And that's kind of how I kind of stuck around. Outside of that, there was, again, no marketplaces. So we were trading things in Discord. And my first collector was Hero. And huge shout out to Hero. He gave me a lot. He gave me belief in myself that I could do anything, and a lot of education in the ecosystem. And him and Senpai Abe, if anyone remembers him, and Jenny Brito, gotta love her. She's everywhere, everything. And those three were my strongest people to helping me be where I am today.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And before we kind of like go by it, because you said so much there, you mentioned, because like I said, I'm really interested in the interconnection between art and blockchain. You said that Emily wanted to get into crypto to buy back her rights.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? And how do you see like, blockchain being able to empower artists in ways that wasn't, available previously in like Web 2, Web 1, or even just the physical world?
Yeah. So it's funny being a creative. I'm sure that many will resonate with this. That if you're doing a hustle, um, you fall into a lot of traps. Like for myself, being a model, you will interact with a photographer who's like, I want to photograph you. And you're like, great. Is this a paid thing? And they're like, no. I just want to add this to my portfolio. It's something that I want to create, or wanted to create, but it'll give you exposure. Great. Okay. I didn't know that was a currency sort of thing. Yeah, exposure is great. That'll pay my rent. That'll give me my food, everything. Um, but at the same time, what would be frustrating is when you're working with this creative individual. I've
Mhm.
worked with photographers who said this line of work, and then I have never seen any of those images come back. Which would be frustrating because I'm like, that's my work. I did the hair, I did the makeup, I did everything to like styling, even driving, like all of the work that goes into creating the work. No proof of it. No one would really say anything aside from maybe scrolling through Instagram and being like, "Oh, there's my face. That's kind of cool." Um, and that's just on like the lower tier level. When it comes to people like Emily Ratajkowski, you recognize her as one of the world's sexiest women. She's done runway shows, she's done tabloids, all kinds of stuff. But in Hollywood, you go through being the puppet from the managers and everything like that to getting you your gigs, but you don't own any of that stuff at all. I mean, just like if we look to the biggest, mover of rights for your stuff would be Taylor Swift, talking about her music. She didn't own any of it. She was the one who wrote the songs, she sang it, she performed it, all of that kind of stuff, but she didn't actually own the rights to her own music, which was really frustrating. And that goes for a lot of people. So when I saw that, I was like, this is interesting. Blockchain is, for me, I think of it like the cloud with Apple. You put something up there, you can't take it down, really. Um,
Yeah.
and so, but then on the other hand, on blockchain, you can see it, you can verify it, you can see when it was created, when it was sent, all of this information. And at the same time, no one can really take away from you the fact that you were the one who created it. Like, how powerful is that? And then at the same time, you've got royalties, which most people really think about being something for only celebrities. Um,
Mhm.
like Michael Jackson had like $111 million or whatever, and in his will, he only was able to give it to so many people. After that, it was done. It was nothing else past that generation, and it's really left in the hands for Paris Jackson and Blanket and everything like that to either take care of it and leave it for their next generation after that, or is just gone. Or like Marilyn Monroe, for example, she made $370,000, which in today's day and age, I think was like $3 million or something like that. And she left it to some of her family members and her therapist and some of the people who worked for her, basically. But no one would have known that. No one would have been able to actually even track really all of that down, aside from legal authorities, or the right people who need to know that. But I just feel like with blockchain, doesn't matter what chain you're on, really. It's the sentiment for me that you now own your stuff, which is more powerful than anything.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, you get a chance to share it with everyone. And when we think about like Google, how many times have you looked up something and you're like, yeah, this probably doesn't exist, or no one really is going to like this idea? And then you come to find out, lo and behold, that the sentence will complete itself, and be like, oh, that was my question that I was going to ask. Oh, it does exist. And then you see all of these articles about it, and you're like, there is a niche for that. Like, I would have never thought about that. And so it's kind of like validation for yourself. And I don't know, I just like, philosophically, I think that it's a beautiful thing and something that people should not ignore. It's not a perfect system right now, but I do believe that with enough push and shove of regulations or just attention to it, that we can work to fix some of the things that were wrong in our system even today. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like the first interview I did when I started bringing these conversations back, it was with my friend Brittany. She's a model over in Los Angeles, and she was talking about some of her experiences that she was going through. So it is so important to with this technology and the efforts that we're all putting in to create ecosystems where artists are protected. And I love how you, like you said, you're bringing the one of one NFT movement over here, which is traditionally NFTs are you have like a pack of 7,777
Oh, you mean Sneckies?
yeah, I did. Wait, is that how many are the Sneckies?
7,777. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I was just picking a number. But exactly. And then, and it's great artwork, or some projects are great artwork. Some, they're just kind of like thrown together. But, it's, I look at the one of one market and how that kind of connects in my mind to like not I don't want to call it like the sophisticated art scene, but like, with a lot of big money, a lot of people, invest in, paintings. They'll say, oh, I'll buy it for like $1 million or $100,000, have it be a tax write-off, and then, donate it to a museum or something, and then, or like do insurance and stuff. And I'm really curious on how that world is going to like transition over to blockchain. I don't think it's here yet fully, or at least from what I've seen. But like, where do you see like that world kind of like eventually jumping in to like crypto, and how do you see like the progression moving forward when like attention starts really coming back?
I think it's already here. If it it's like the Google thing. Like, if you don't look for it, you won't know it actually exists. So some people don't believe that Cardano is something that is being used. It's a ghost chain, right? But
Yeah.
if you actually go in and look at it, there's thousands of people who are actually using Cardano for multiple reasons, whether it's being a stake pool operator, being a governance thing, music, movies, And with one-of-one artists, there's a variety of ways that you can go about it. You can go with a one-of-one edition thing. You can go with auctions. You can go with editions. You can go with commissions. I'm working with an artist now who's doing a commission work for me. And I think that's also how a lot of NFT projects are coming to fruition. I mean, if we look at Squasha, he's made quite a few different 10K projects, and it's beautiful that it's all him. But at the same time, when you look at other projects, you will recognize that some of these artists are also one-of-one artists, like Eight Aquariums or Pendulum, for example. They're one-of-one artists as well, and they create work to, or actually, one of my favorites to talk about would be Goof's World. You got Stag Wolf, who's been part of Bizarre Stars and quite a few other things, but he's a talented one-of-one artist, and it's kind of nice to see that he also really enjoys the work that he does, and it's not something that you would typically see in a gallery or anything like that, but I believe that it should.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I would love to go to the NFT museum and see a Stag Wolf piece on the wall. Like, that would be awesome. But it's just the same thing as in Web 2. When you're looking at the movie credits, how many artists are taking care of Spider-Man, Spider-Verse stuff? The amount of helping hands and experts that create those things is wild. And some of those people even, again, are one-of-one artists, and you'll see their work in a respective gallery space and either pay attention or not pay attention at all. So yeah, there's that. And then Ethereum, one-of-one artists, kind of has its trends, right? There'll be days where the focus is more on runes or be more focused on sappy seals or pudgy penguins. But if an individual is looking for art for something specific, like for my house, I have this big wall right here and it's empty, but I want something that's better looking than a virtual space when I'm on calls. So, of course, I find a beautiful art that has meaning to me, that fills a space. And it's kind of beautiful when you go to, like, I went to a friend's house and they have one of those digital screens, and they were preparing for us to come and visit. So they put our artwork up on, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. You didn't have to put our artwork down on the wall. But they're like, no, we were excited. Like, it changes every once in a while, but it's like kind of cool to be able to, choose either looking at charts or a PFP collection or regular art. Like it's kind of interesting to see that. And it'd be nice to see it across multiple chains, because like I collect art from Polygon, Tezos. Tezos was booming for a while because of the foundation's core interest was primarily on artists. Most of that money was spilled into from the foundation to supporting artists. And so it depends, I guess, on each chain's fundamentals, ambitions, beliefs, or I guess more or less core values. And so for Cardano, ours is, about sustainability, scalability, security.
Absolutely.
That it would make sense why art really isn't at the forefront of Charles's mind, but he surely does appreciate it. I mean, you see it in his office, and he appreciates the gifts that the community gets him or gives him. But if we're talking as the individual, he's thinking 6 companies, not thinking about the next one-of-one art piece that's going to be fulfilling his wall. I mean, eventually, I'm sure in one of his homes or something like that, he'll want to, complete a blank wall. It depends on the aesthetics or whichever, but if it's of your interest, you'll find it. And I think that's one of the things that I look forward to in Cardano with being an art director or creative director, is educating the individual what is possible. Because like I said earlier, with my onboarding process, Ethereum was way too expensive for me. That was my whole paycheck to mint anything. Whereas with a one-of-one artist, they're already having to fork out money for their website, their gallery shows that they're going to be at, or anything like that. Or they just simply don't have that liquidity to invest in Ethereum. So why not show them the opportunity that Cardano's there? And there might be individuals who would be interested in supporting their business, supporting their legacy, creativity. And I would say one of my favorite moments when I was working at JPEG Store was onboarding. I don't know if you've seen her in the ecosystem yet, but her name is Nastaran.
Masrim?
Nastaran.
Nastaran. Okay.
She's from Iran, and I had put out a tweet because knowing politics, women life freedom was a pretty big, and still is a pretty big movement to recognize and trying to help individuals in the space, or not even in the space. Primarily, they're all Web 2. But I asked if there was anybody in the ecosystem. And Shaz from Danketsu had commented, Nasaran, she's on Ethereum. And I was like,
Love him, by the way.
Right?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people in Cardano.
He's awesome. I've loved every interaction with him, apart from collaborating with each other, to just working with each other, and being good friends. I'm excited to get my little plushie soon. But he commented about her, and she and I started talking, and she had no idea that JPEG Store had one-of-one minting available. She thought it was just for projects. And within a week, she sold out all of her work, and she was able to upgrade from doing her art on her cell phone to doing it on an iPad. And I thought that was incredibly empowering and beautiful. And it didn't take much. Yeah. All it took was listening to her story and telling her how and when and what to do, really, in terms of okay, you already have the wallet, you already have this. Let me see how I can help. And from there, she's one of my dearest friends that I was just talking to her the other day and asking if she was okay, because of course, looking at the news, she's right in the middle of it all, right? So my heart goes out to her, and I love her dearly, but I'm so proud of her as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing more artists like that have that kind of success on Cardano. And she's exploring other chains. And that's, I think, what's also beautiful with one-of-one artists is, I don't know how familiar you are with Audrey Hepburn, but in one of her movies, she was mentioning that she was like a cat, a no-name slob. She doesn't belong to anyone, and no one belongs to them. And I feel like that's the same thing with artists. They don't belong to anyone, and no one.
You're not a prisoner to a chain,
basically.
Yeah.
So you get this beautiful opportunity to share your work everywhere, and also just have an impact. Because that's another beautiful thing about art, is that it has a story. And so individuals can either buy the artist or buy the art and have fun with it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. And you just spoke about your experience onboarding someone, and that's going to be a quick transition in a second. But before we go there, you also mentioned that you're an artist yourself. You work as a model. You work as a muse. And a big thing with doing any form of creative endeavor is marketing yourself and developing your brand. And so with building, as someone who's trying to, they're creative, they may have some digital talent, maybe they have some physical talent of some kind. how would you recommend that they approach creating a digital identity and a brand in today's modern world?
So there's two different ways you can go about it, right? You can go by a pseudonym name like Squasha, and that'll be your brand, and you can have the separation between you and your art if you want to, or you could be like Jason, who's real Jason Matias. That's him and his brand is surrounded around the idea of comfortable isolation. However, what's been empowering with Web3 is his opportunity to be more creative outside of just Web2. So he can do photography, he can do AI work, he can do whatever his heart desires, but ultimately still sticking true to your vision, I guess. And I think what's also something to keep in mind is with an artist, it's kind of like a woman, where a woman can't decide what she wants to eat, but sometimes, she wants to have Mexican food, sometimes she wants to have Italian food or whichever, but you can have all of those bits and pieces that still is you, right? And so with an artist, don't ever get upset when an artist is going through a time in their life, because a lot of times their art is a translation of what they're going through in life. So you've never seen them use red before and all of their work is now red now. Well, I'm sure that probably means something. And you shouldn't get upset when they're not creating the work that you wanted them to create or whatever they were creating before. And also their talents is going to always evolve, right? So it's being open-minded to the growth of an individual while also respecting their choice to whether be a brand or be themselves. And a lot of times it's a question to ask yourself, especially this is one of the things that I was thinking about when I want to onboard more people. We think about how many people are on Twitter. Okay, but do we ever talk about maybe an individual wanting to be cognizant of having a Web3 Twitter account and having that separate from their personal account? Because sometimes, as we've seen with other individuals, you said something at once upon a time and someone's going to dig it up and they're not going to like it. Or just being able to have that sense of privacy between your life and Web3 life. It's okay to have that separation. And if you want to be 100% involved in the space like myself, you have my childhood nickname on full blast everywhere I go. It's Ally. You can find that anywhere because I don't really have anything to hide. But at the same time, I am very selective in curating what I show on Twitter versus what I show on Facebook, of course. And so when it comes to like the marketing thing, it's asking the platforms what they can provide to you or what you can provide to the platform. And even if it's not 100% what you're expecting, it's still an opportunity to think about. And there's nothing wrong with making mistakes either. I think that's another thing to take into consideration. Like if you mint, like how I did, I minted on Genesis House, and I have work on there that I can't touch because the team is no longer around. So that is an unfortunate thing that I've learned to be mindful of when navigating in the space. Is a platform going to be something that is going to be around for the long run or for a little bit of time? And is it going to be something that I'm okay with losing or gaining? And then, Twitter spaces can be terrifying. don't feel pressured to go up into a Twitter space because you have to make money or anything like that. Slow and steady wins the race. So just go with what you feel comfortable with being a part of, and the right people will find you. But if you really, really want to go out there, then absolutely, you are going to have to put yourself out there by going to conventions, by going to something that I haven't seen a lot of individuals really doing is going to their local art galleries and asking, do you guys cater to Web3 artists? That's an opportunity to onboard the Web2 people while also staying true to what you do.
And it's a huge opportunity as well because, oh, excuse me, I had it.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, when you're able to go into a traditional market that has attention, and then you're able to really bring something new to the table, like that sets you up to like really stand out. And sometimes you're gonna, go and you're gonna get some no's, or you're gonna have people who don't see the vision, and that's okay. You can. I always recommend in those circumstances keeping a positive attitude and showing love. Whereas, like, even if you don't see it yet, I love you, and we're still when you do see it, come call me, because this is the thing, and you're gonna need someone like me. Hopefully, you remember who I am through our interaction, and I can take care of that for you. But I think that's so great. The more we can kind of like bring that, balance of what is going on in Web3 and everything that's evolving over here, and bring it into real life, I think that's super powerful. Also, I think it's really cool when you said like your friend had their digital art display, and all of a sudden, they're pulling up and switching your art in when they're coming. I think that's going to be a huge trend where you buy, whether it's a part of a status display from a project, or you just want to say, hey, I got Ally's latest thing. You're able to switch out and display all these different forms of art within your home, you're in your gallery, your office. I definitely think that's the future. But kind of moving on to like the onboarding side of things now, you are the founder of Cardano Women. Can you kind of just, instead of me trying to explain it, can you kind of just explain a little bit what Cardano Women's all about, how that came to be, and what the mission of Cardano Women is?
Absolutely. So when I joined the space, you heard me mention there was no marketplace. There was few and far in between people. There was like
I
really,
remember
really
those
small
Discord
group.
days. Yeah.
And Twitter spaces were all over the place. However, there weren't, I mean, you had Cardano nights, you had Cardano over coffee, you had all kinds of things, but it didn't seem like there was a lot of women in the space.
There weren't. I was there too. There were absolute. They weren't there.
So it's funny enough as you say that, like there are a lot of women in the space, and it's a matter, again, if you go looking for it, then you will find it. And so I had asked Hero when we were hosting coaching over coffee. It was way too early for me, so I was like, I'll focus on Cardano nights and then do the scheduling in the background. Just like an actual podcast kind of thing, I would focus on the scheduling of projects. And then I asked Hero, and I was like, would it be okay if I did a Twitter space like Cardano Women or whatever? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, Twitter back in that time had a minimum requirement as to how many people you had to like be following or following you to have a Twitter space. And I didn't have that number. So I was like, oh, I tweeted, I wish I had, X amount of followers so then I could host a Twitter space. And Jenny saw that and she made a giveaway post. And
Shout out Jenny.
yeah, shout out to Jenny. It was also a small, funny little joke. There was an individual from the Threefold Bold Project. We were in a race with each other to see who would get to the X amount of followers to host spaces, and we bet 58 at a time to each other. And I won. which was
Hey, let's
exciting.
go. We got to win now.
A huge shout out to Jenny for making me, the winner and everything. That was really awesome. But also, it was just exciting to have a Twitter space that was just for women, by women kind of thing. But from the beginning, when I was thinking about onboarding, like I said, I saw Emily Ratajkowski. That was a woman who was like a mirror for me that I could resonate with. And I was like, well, that's going to be the same thing with everyone else in the space. Like, no one's going to really recognize Cardano or any blockchain things until they see themselves in the ecosystem. Whether you're Latino, Asian, just wherever you come from in your background, you would want to be able to see yourself in the space, especially if you're not brave enough to be a first-time mover. A lot of us in the ecosystem right now are first movers. Funny enough as that is, we see alpha groups, we see followers and, trends and things like that. But for the most part, we are all still early, and we are,
Innovators, for sure.
yeah, are doing the work. So my philosophy in that was bleeding over into how could I make that happen? And talking about being creative, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And my mom, bless my mom, she was with the mentality as how she grew up is you go to school, you get a job, live that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so she said, oh, honey, that's a really great dream, but you got to be realistic. You have to go with a real job because in fashion, one day you're in, the next day you're out. And I know she didn't really intend it, now thinking, in her shoes. But it prompted me to put all my notebooks away. Like, I didn't touch them. I didn't do anything. I haven't drawn in years. And of course, I'm not in the fashion industry like that. So that dream really dwindled away. But it was revived with Web3, where I could hire an artist to help me make these things come true. And so I was thinking, instead of doing a photo of someone or doing an AI thing, I would like to have a fashion illustrator from all over the world do a fashion sketch of a man and a woman adorned in their cultural attire, because culture in itself is beautiful art form. When you're talking about the geisha community, for example, a lot of the artwork and craftsmanship for that is story driven and would be very beautiful to see it. Again, thinking like the cloud, it's up on the blockchain, you can't take it down. And it was very heartbreaking for me to come to the realization, thanks to a Twitter space, that 1 to 2 languages every day die out. And when you're thinking about that, it's like a language dying out. I would have never thought about that, because here I am speaking English. You would never think that English would go away.
Right.
So then I was also thinking about myself. I'm first generation Panamanian American. I don't look like it by any means, but I am Hispanic. I am conversationally fluent in Spanish. However, if I don't use it, I lose it. And so I was like, oh shit, that's me. If anything, it ends at me in my family generation anyways.
You need intentionality in protecting the culture, in a sense.
Yeah. So I could be selfish and focus only on the Panamanian culture, but I wanted to do more than that. I find it more beautiful to wanting to represent everyone. So as I mentioned, I have an artist who's doing commission work for me right now for Cardano Women. And they're doing 7 sketches to represent each continent. And over time, I would like to hire an artist because 1, it's giving them a job, and 2, giving them exposure to the blockchain, and their community will join the blockchain as well from that, and people will recognize they are represented as well. And so having an artist from all over the world to represent each culture respectfully, I think would be something really beautiful. And
That is
so
cool.
I said men and women. I would like to start with a collection of women, and then have a small collection that would be to represent the mom to bees, because we're looking at Web3. I saw the other day, it was like, where are my Web3 mamas at? There's a ton of moms in the ecosystem. They do a lot. They do the cooking, the cleaning, the working, and childbearing, everything. And they don't have an opportunity to do the trading stuff. If anything, they're assisting to have their partner do all the trading work for them. um, so I want to have a small collection that's dedicated to them, because similar to everything else, you've got different cultures that celebrate the mom to bees in their own way, and that will give birth to the collection of men. And so this NFT collection is going to be a lifelong endeavor. I every day come to more and more terms of what pill did I swallow and what have I gotten myself into, because it's a lot of work. However,
Oh, I so relate to that. Oh my God. Yeah.
it's overwhelming, but it's also really beautiful in the way that, funny enough, when I came into the ecosystem, I came in for my bags. Absolutely. I came for my bags.
I think we all did. There's nothing wrong with that.
And truly, we did stay for the community. But more than that, I am here with this purpose. And I think a lot of people after COVID are finding their purpose again, because I think that's one thing that COVID really awoken in us. I mean, we see a lot of things that's really wrong in this world, but at the same time, how many people have been empowered to quit their jobs and start doing something that they actually want to do, or
At least move in the direction.
yeah,
Like, of creating momentum and progress, for sure.
yeah. And I think that was beautiful. And so when you take that to another level, like turn up the volume, put that into Web3, that's what it provided to me. It provided me with purpose. And I also am fairly aware that the project isn't going to be something that's going to be a multi-million-dollar, pudgy penguin, hyped up sort of thing. But I think that it's something that's beautiful. And how do I want to tie that in together with onboarding and everything? Been working on some education things, so that way, I don't know if you've seen a program called like SheFi. I mean, everyone has some sort of onboarding education of what is Cardano, what is blockchain, those kind of things. But how do you pair it with an NFT collection? How do you pair it with that? So I love having watched and learned and made mistakes throughout my entire time of 4 years in the ecosystem. I don't want to do a 10K collection. I'd rather have an open edition for the 7 women, open every quarter. And every quarter, that'll be the end of the education program. That will also teach everyone how to mint or things like that. And then these 7 women, these tokens essentially would grant access to future collections and future endeavors. So
yeah, and then kind of sticking with onboarding for a little bit more. Like,
yeah.
say I'm a guy. I think that's obvious. And so I'm not saying this is like a general representation of all women, but I can only speak to my experience. And when you're on trying, not even just onboarding, but communicating about crypto, I've noticed it's been more challenging to speak to the women in my life about it, for the fact of, like, if you start getting too technical, some way, not, I don't want to hear this, or if they
You're
put
mansplaining.
and also, just like, they may put $150 to $100 in. That $100 may go down to like 65 or 60, and they're like, oh no, this is risky. And so how do you because I think that like crypto is like one of the biggest wealth transfers that may happen in our, you know, while we're alive. How
Yeah,
do we, frame this conversation if you're like, a guy speaking to a woman trying to say, this is like where you want to be. There's so much opportunity here for you. How do you convey that in a proper way without being offensive or coming off, aggressive or anything like that? Because I think a lot of men could use that advice.
absolutely. And you're right. I've seen this happen a couple of times at multiple conferences where a gentleman will be talking to a woman and he's like, "Oh, I know everything about this." And then the woman, I immediately see her face just lights and everything shut off because you're either one insulting her because she's already in the ecosystem and now you're just talking about it all over again rather than actually having a conversation. You are talking to a wall.
Mhm.
And then two, you're not going at all into conversation about something that she's interested in. I don't want to talk about wallets. I don't want to talk about seed phrases or charts. I mean, some people do, absolutely, but when we're talking about what women think about the movie, what do women want?
Mhm.
What do women like? Well, in the Cardano ecosystem, I can name quite a few things. If a woman likes books, talk about booktoken.io. Don't get into the technical things, but you can probably talk about how you just got a book online and you actually own the book. Holy cow, you own the book? Yeah, and I don't have to worry about paying Amazon for X amount of dollars and get discouraged when my subscription is up that I no longer own the book. I've seen that happen a couple of times with Amazon holders, including I have some books that I no longer have access to, even though I paid $24.99 for it. The heck? Um, music, you know, you've got I Hold with some really cool tunes and beautiful work as well. You can start talking about music or how we onboarded one of my girlfriends was through art. And I was like, you like creating work. Why not? Okay, for example, FemFest is coming up this weekend. It's
Mhm.
an event that I'm hosting with Future Fest. Half of, if not more than half of the gallery that you'll be seeing in there has Web 2 artists. And how did I bring in the conversation? I was like, have you ever seen your work in a web in a virtual gallery? And they're like, no, not really. I haven't really thought about it. Well, I'm curating it into a way that there will be booths for Vesper Wallet, booktoken.io, quite a few different like information booths where they can kind of go in, click on the website, save the tab to read later. But then they get a chance to be excited and see, oh my God, that's what my work looks like. This is what's possible. Um, and I think that it's just by going by the normal conversations you would have on a day-to-day basis. Um, how many people did I talk to about Starbucks? Starbucks, I mean, granted, their program is no longer in commission, but they had a blockchain thing and it was freaking awesome. I loved it. And I'm really sad that it's no longer a thing, but I did take quite a few notes of how you compare the Web 2 and Web 3 thing together. You can use your points. Of course, I'm going to go to Starbucks and get points. How can I do those kind of things? Or if you are a gamer, what kind of games does she like? Does she like Candy Crush? Okay, well, why not check out Goombles? Why not if you like I don't know, like a D&D kind of thing, why not look at a few games that might have like Cardano Lands, I think might have some sort of like D&D-esque stuff. And then if you're talking about investing, I would probably focus the investment conversation for the woman who's 40 and older, because most of those women already have capital or have some form of capital that they don't know what to do with it. I mean, I just learned how to create a high yield savings account. Never in my life did I think that that was something that was possible. And now it, I'm like, I wish I would have known this sooner. I wish I would have been able to double my money more. And then, okay, well, then how can I also translate that into blockchain? Did you know that you can put your money into a stake pool and get X percentage money, every epoch or so? And if you happen to have an NFT, you can also stake it and get money. I mean, like with Omen, heck, I talk about putting something somewhere and forgetting about it. I love my Omen.
Mhm.
I absolutely love my Omens. And I was like, okay, well, I saw that there was a way to go with staking something. So I staked it, and then I was like, oh yeah, it's staked. Like, I can't touch it. I can't do anything with it. Lies. I can totally do stuff with it, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, I go in and I look that I have rewards that I can harvest or whatever. 300 ADA. And I was like, where did this, what? I didn't do anything. I literally put something like a squirrel. I took my nut and I put it under the ground, came back a couple of months later for the next season, and I come out and here's the fruit of my labor. I did nothing. Which is really cool. And then like just like having regular conversation. You don't have to go into technical things if she doesn't want to get into technical things. But if she wants to get into technical things, absolutely. There are some women, that we've
We're all
been
about it.
yeah, who are like, yeah, I'm a developer. I can do some things. I mean, take a look at what Chain Lobby. Most of that team is women. They are self-funded and everything is social-fi. No one's really talking about it, but it's really actually really freaking cool, and I love it. And it was also, a branch derived from Ada Digis. That's a pretty cool project. That's pretty awesome. I think that's really cool. And more kudos to them that most of their team is women. And you're talking about there's not a lot of women in the ecosystem. There's a lot of women in the ecosystem. If anything, I would say Cardano is more women-centered than anything I've ever seen. You've got the coin that's named after a woman. You've got the president, Tamara. You've got the first stake pool operator was a woman. You've got the blue chip NFT project, which was Clay. So, I mean, if you're going to talk about anything, talk about Clays.
Mhm.
And if you're ever feeling lost in trying to explain something, it's not going to be offensive if you say, "Can I introduce you to one of my girlfriends?"
Mhm.
In the space. I think that you guys would get along really, really well. And I think that's really powerful because not only are you creating friendships with people more deeper than what you already have, but you're giving her a place that one person that you trust, um, common ground, and
Helping build new relationships.
yeah, I mean that's pretty powerful. Invite them to your local events that might be happening. I think that governance things are starting to pop off. May not be something that they should be interested in listening to, but absolutely would be intrigued to listen to the happy hour thing, I'm sure. Um, or invite her to Rare Evo. Go to Vegas, have fun. We're gonna have a weekend trip, whatever thing, and who knows? We might see some cross-chain girls. Um, it's exciting. And then as soon as everything else is all set up with Cardano Women, I hope to have like a course sort of thing that goes from basic, intermediate, and expert level things, which I think will be really exciting. So
That's
yeah.
so that's so awesome. That's so awesome. And it's funny because, although women haven't always been the most visible um people on like the Cardano blockchain, because a lot of the guys are really loud sometimes. Uh like you have like hashtag Cardano girls, and that's like becoming, I would say, maybe the biggest marketing viral push for Cardano right now.
Heck yeah, it is, and I'm really proud to be a part of it as well.
Mhm.
Lily's done a really good job. taking in her beauty and brains, and humor. And I think that's also something, another avenue to think about when we're talking about Cardano girls and Cardano women. Like Cardano women, we absolutely have fun. We have a very serious mission as well, mission and vision, I guess. But you can have both. You can be fun. You can also be technical, and I think that's something to also represent the Cardano community. You've got the Stoners Club. You've got Real Talk. You've got both, avenues. You've got Clay's After Dark, which talks about the serious things and the hilarious things. You also got Calm Dono, which is a nice slow. It's like ASMR for me when I'm like chilling out in that space, but it's really educational and informative. And then if you're shy, then absolutely join the introverts community. They have a super shy chat in their Discord. They have chill spaces.
Love introverts.
Right? There's just so much. And I may be selfish in saying that, like, I just want to hold it all to myself, but the whole world deserves to see it all. So keep sharing it out. Like, wear your merch, wear your things, and share it on social media. Like, my favorite gift to give any of my friends when onboarding them is an ADA handle. I'm like, can I just get you the coolest and most powerful NFT you will ever have? And they're like,
what is that?
Sure. What is this? And I'm like, well, Abtushi, for example. I was so excited. She was like, what is this ADA handle thing? I'm like, well, that really, really long address, like on Ethereum, they have an ENS domain. Here's what you could do instead. And it's a $. You can change the backgrounds as well, because ADA handles has that new personalization level to it. So you have your name, you have the backgrounds. Just put that up on your wall and see what happens. And all of a sudden she's got all of these like free NFTs. It was just like, oh my goodness, I just opened my wallet. Like, what do I do? Okay, this is awesome. No, it's really exciting. And men and women both get a chance to celebrate this same kind of thing. Like, it's just kind of cool when you just do those small little engagement farming things, but it's also really exciting. Like, where should I stake my stake pool? And then you get 100. Like, that's the biggest engagement farmer ever, if I could say
Really?
anything.
Okay.
So, but it's kind of nice because then with the Twitter community, we're just helping out each other.
Man, well, I know if I went through like the rest of my questions, we'd probably be here for another hour. I usually try to keep these to like an hour, so I know I'm gonna have to have you back in the future.
Yeah.
But my last question I have for the day is, like, I know you're an adventurer, you're a traveler, you're a foodie. What has been your favorite adventure that you've been on so far, and what's one that you really want to manifest for yourself in the future?
Thanks to Web3, I've had the beautiful opportunity to go to Iceland, Switzerland, Paris, London. My mom was like, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You're traveling the world. And I was like, I'm in shock. That's not me. But it's been beautiful to see the cultures and see the foods. I guess I have a list, actually, a travel list. So we've got Africa, South Africa as one, Australia, Iceland. I want to go back. I really loved Iceland a lot. Dubai, probably not right now, but those are vanity places that I want to go to. I have something coming up next month where I'm working with an organization called Souls for Souls, and it's what it sounds like. We're doing a shoe drive, collecting shoes for those who can't have any or can't get any. And if we collect a certain amount of shoes, Either we will do a giveaway for someone to go with the organization and go deliver the shoes, which I believe right now they're doing Dominican Republic and doing some good work. It might change, but right now, yeah, just collecting shoes and then get a chance to go on like a mission trip, but not really a mission trip. And do dual purpose, give back while also showcasing the Cardano community. I think that's going to be something really exciting.
Amazing. So thank you again, Ally, for coming on. If people want to get in touch with you, if people want to, get in touch with Cardano Women, what are your handles? What is the best way to reach out and want to build?
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm AllyIllustrated, kind of like Sports Illustrated, but with an ALLY in the front. And then for Cardano Women, we are at cardanowomen.io. We have Cardano Women as our Twitter. Feel free to ask any questions. We're having a Twitter space tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to swing by and ask any questions there. We'll be talking about Future Fest this weekend and other exciting things coming up because I have all sorts of alpha and I didn't get a chance to spill any of it really. So I appreciate the opportunity to get a chance to know each other first. This is date one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you got alpha, let's if you want to drop some alpha right now, feel free.
That's some alpha for now. We've got
Just come tomorrow 3.
NFTs, souls for souls. Yeah, there's quite a few things coming out. Just stay tuned, look at your timeline, and we'll save it for the next interview.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you again, Ally. I so appreciate you. I know how busy you are, and yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you everyone who watched, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Peace, everyone.